Hi, my name is William McClain. I am the new music director and conductor of the Millikin Decatur Symphony Orchestra. I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in Washington, D.C. I was born to two parents who were civilian military. It was a very interesting time. Reagan was president. There was a lot going on in the world, but I grew up to two loving parents who actually encouraged me in music. My mom played the piano. She also sang in the choir at church. It's actually where I felt I got my first music education, was actually through hearing the choirs at church and just learning about how music could communicate to you in different ways. And I went to high school at Suitland High School in Maryland, and that's kind of an interesting story because at this time there was a real shortage for music programs that were available in public schools. So I was very, very fortunate to be able to go to one of only two public schools at the time in the DC area that offered performing arts in the public school. So I'm very, very thankful for that. And it's also what got me my start and my training in music. I went to Ithaca College in New York for my undergraduate, and I studied viola performance. So I started my career as a violist, learning my craft, learning to perform, to be on stage. I also went to the University of Texas in Austin, continued my studies there. During that time, it's when I began to play professionally, also in several professional orchestras. And a lot of people will ask me about how you train to be a conductor. One of the things that my first mentor told me is that your training as a musician, as a performer first, is in fact your very first training in conducting. So I don't think of my first lesson reading a score or waving my arms and learning how to beat. I actually think of my first days of training as a conductor by watching other great conductors when I was playing professionally in orchestras and learning a lot from what they would do to lead a rehearsal. A little bit about my conducting training. Aside from sort of formal education, I did a lot of traveling around the world to also train as a conductor. One of the places that is most meaningful for me is a summer that I spent in St. Petersburg, Russia. I actually got to conduct the Congress Orchestra, which is part of the St. Petersburg Philharmonic during that summer, and it was held in a palace in Russia. So this was really exciting, especially for someone who had never left the country before. My very first country that I visited was Russia, so it was very exciting. But that's not the only places. There are many other places, and you'll find that many conductors have that background where we travel around the world to learn from different conducting masters, as well as working with orchestras outside of the United States as well. There have been many people who have inspired me in my life and my career, both musicians and non-musicians. So a lot of you know that I'm an avid tennis player, and I actually have followed the career of Andre Agassi for most of my waking life. And it's an interesting life because in his early careers, he was known as a bad boy. He wore his hair like a rock star, and he would have arguments on the court. And then he went through this life change. He got married, he had children, and he changed his philosophy towards the game. And he became known as the consummate professional. And that is what inspired me. And it's actually not so much about the sport itself, but it's the way he was able to grow and recreate his life and really learn to appreciate the process. He talks a lot about the process. And so I really do that a lot in conducting. A lot of you kind of want to know what happens behind the scenes. Being a conductor is amazing. It's really fun. It also is a lot of hard work. And one of the things that his philosophy taught me is enjoying the process along the way. In other words, you got to get ready, you got to study, you have to form the orchestra, you got to hire. There are all these interesting behind the scenes things that you have to do. And he really treated that as a process, as being part of the consummate professional. So I look forward to this year. I know there are a lot of uncertainties, but what is certain is what our role will be, what the role of the arts will be. And that is still to connect us, to inspire us. Even if it's virtual, we will still be connected. We will still be able to reach each other in a deep and meaningful way through music and through dance and through any of the arts. What the MDSO will do is deliver great, inspiring performances. And as far as something that I'm looking forward to, I'm looking forward to that first concert when we all get to return. This will be such a day of celebration. We're going to fill this house with music again, with the sound of the audience getting ready and sitting down, and then hearing those first tuning notes. And then I get to walk out on stage. It's just gonna be such a wonderful moment where I will be able to greet you all in person for the very first time. Until that happens though, we are looking forward to connecting with you, to seeing you online and hearing us on the radio. And this is gonna be a wonderful year, a different kind of year, but a wonderful year nonetheless. See you soon.